Week 20 of the 2024-25 NBA season is over, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back NBA Week in Review Heat Edition. I'm Eric Labrador, contributor at thepeachbasket.net covering the Heat. This is the show where we recap the week that was in the NBA and then highlight the marquee matchup for the week to come for the Heat. We start with the only objective NBA power rankings anywhere. You could read more about how we get to these rankings and see the entire list at thepeachbasket.net. As for the Heat, they moved down to 19 because of their 1-4 week, and they dropped from 7th to 8th in the East. Bam Adebayo was a scoring leader this week. He was the everything this week. He averaged 10 field goal attempts per game and led the team in all rebounding categories and steals. Davion Mitchell averaged 7.5 assists per game. Kel'el Ware led the team in blocks, and Andrew Wiggins and Duncan Robinson with 3-pointers made. This week, the Heat were busy with 5 games, 4 home and 1 away. The one win was Monday night against Washington. That game will not be discussed too much, if at all, because Washington is a team that Miami was supposed to beat and did. They're currently 13-49 on the season. Miami missed out on 3 chances to win, and 3 wins you could arguably say they lost. On Sunday night, the game against the Knicks went to overtime. The Heat won the first half, the Knicks won the second half. They did their part by out-rebounding Miami by 18, and Jalen Brunson did his part by being the number one option on the team by scoring most of his 31 points in the second half. Adebayo did his part by scoring 30 points on a very clean and efficient 12 of 16 shooting. The Heat still had a chance to win and were down 110 to 109 when a jump ball was called in the overtime period. OG Anunoby was doing the jump ball for the Knicks, and visibly you could see OG holding Bam's tip arm as they were getting ready to do the jump ball. Then, as Bam was jumping up, OG was also holding his arm, forcing Bam to tip with his off arm. The Knicks won the tip, and you could, as I was watching the game, Heat analyst John Crotty was wondering how the Heat lost that tip. There it is. Now, I'm hoping that some fan of the basket could tell me if they've ever seen this before, and if they had 2 players, one player holding the other player's arm on a jump ball, if it had been called a foul or not by the referees. I understand that in jump ball situations they'll be jockeying for position, but Anunoby's was above and beyond. It was just Bam shook him off the first time and then decided to go along, but it was egregious. The SAT word. Tyler Herro got to the line in the game 4 times. That's not enough. He was around Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry for 4 years, 5 years, you could say. Surely he had to have picked up pro tips, but the number one guy getting to the line 4 times against a good team, that's not enough. And going forward with the season that remains, Herro has to be absorbing more contact. If you're going to get injured, geez, do it in an effort. I'll get to Tyler Herro's shot selection more as we go along in the report. On Wednesday, the Heat went to Cleveland. Cleveland was favored by 12.5. The line was 221, and they lost by 5. Duncan Robinson buried a 3-pointer to tie the score at 110, but it was waved off because he had gone out of bounds before he took the shot. So the Heat played tough, and they were shorthanded. A very critical part, and this is more than the Heat's blown leads that they've had, is their shot selection. They were down 108-107 with 2:48 remaining. 2:48, 2 minutes and 48 seconds left in the game against Cleveland. For the next 4 possessions that the Heat had, this was their shot selection. 2:15 remaining, missed 3-pointer. 1:45 remaining, missed 3-pointer. 1:39 remaining, missed 3-pointer. 59 seconds remaining, another missed 3-pointer. This team is not that elite, and I would argue that any team Doesn't matter how elite you are from three-point range, the closer to the basket you are, the better your chances of making the shot. But to waste that much time when you're down by one, that's a problem. That's really bad. It doesn't matter about the blown leads. If you're still fighting with the other team to win, you got to have better shot selection. That was just terrible. Now, for the rest of this, viewers and listeners, I will be speaking as if I was announcing a mystery, telling a tale, a ghastly tale of a team cursed. A team cursed for particular reasons. And I will say it again. They played Minnesota on Friday, and they lost the lead again, yet again. They were up 102-99, with 2:39 remaining. Their shot sequence was poor. Allow me to read the shot sequence. 102-99. Adebayo missed a three-point attempt at the 2:04 mark. Tyler Herro missed a three-point attempt at 1:27. And Duncan Robinson missed a three-point attempt at 54 seconds. Could it be that this squad did not want to win secretly? I don't know. But the game was still in doubt at this point, and the offense's choice to take long shots without pressuring the defense decided the game. It just decided the game. It didn't matter if Adebayo was fouled or not. It turns out on second look, Julius Randle had his hand on Adebayo's hip as Adebayo was shooting upwards, taking the shot upwards. To me, that's a foul. That's a foul right then and there. He's not supposed to have his hands on him. But Adebayo did kick his legs out, and Randle did not give him enough space to land after the three-pointer. That's besides the point. Then we get to Friday night against Chicago. It was the biggest collapse because the Heat were up 89-78 heading into the fourth. They gave up 36 points in the fourth quarter. The Bulls started the quarter on a 15-5 run. But, again, it wasn't as much the blown lead. The Heat held their position, and they regained the lead with under 4 minutes at 101-99. Chicago took the lead back at 110-109, but with 40 seconds remaining. 40 seconds, okay? Terry Rozier takes a three-pointer. Bad shot selection, okay? When you're down 110-109, a long shot, long rebound, you don't make the defense. That's easy for the defense when you take a long three-pointer like that. And the Heat are just not that good at taking those three-pointers late in games. It doesn't matter as much about the blown leads. It's about when you're fighting back and forth with the opposing team, what do you do during that time? And time and time again that the Heat have not responded. Something wrong with this team. You could call it a lack of will. Maybe what they say in the press conferences is not what's going on. Perhaps maybe it was the curse of the butler. The butler's curse hangs over this team like a dark cloud, a storm which will never break. The marquee matchup, as I said last week, the Heat in their fight to get out of the play-in tournament, which probably they're headed towards the play-in tournament, all the week's games are marquee. The Heat finished their 5-game homestand this week. They play the Hornets on Monday, the Clippers Wednesday, the Celtics on Friday, and then travel to Memphis on a second night of a back-to-back on Saturday to play the Grizzlies. Andrew Wiggins came back from injury to play last night against Chicago and played well. So the Heat will have someone who can get fouls and head to the line more than 4 times during the game. The Hornets are 14th in the East. The Heat need to win that game. It's not even a question. That is something that you need to beat a team that bad. The Clippers in the Western Conference, they're like the Heat in 6, 7, 8, 9, heading towards the play-in tournament. The Celtics are the Celtics. And the Grizzlies, when they go to play them in Memphis, they're number 4 in the West. So the Grizzlies, it's not nothing. They have a better record than the Heat. It's anyone's guess, though, how the Heat will do in these games. Which leads me into the full court press. In a Google search on the Heat or other keywords related to the Heat, I found the following 3 interesting articles. Anthony Paciolo from the SI.com's Heat fan page gives a take that the Heat may pursue Anthony Edwards in the offseason instead of Kevin Durant. He doesn't give an actual avenue as to how they can get Edwards, but he does report that Edwards decided to practice at the Heat's facility during All-Star weekend. Could have chosen to go anywhere else, but he chose to practice at the Heat's facility. Anthony Edwards is 23, 24 years old, a lot younger than Kevin Durant, and he has a very good relationship with Coach Spoelstra. Number 2, Hot Hoops' Matt Hannafan talks about Tyler Herro and the rest of the Heat offense have struggled in clutch situations in games. Now, I liked this take that he made, and looking at his article, he says that of the fourth quarters since the turn of the calendar, Herro is shooting just 40.4% from the floor and 25.4% from three-point range. Of 88 players who have taken at least, this is reading directly from his article, 30 long-range attempts in those situations since January 1st, Herro's three-point percentage is 7th worst. To compound the struggles, moving on, he's shooting just 24% and 5 of 31 from beyond the arc in clutch situations. He owns the 5th worst effective field goal percentage, which is untenable for this team's primary creator outside of Bam Adebayo. Totally agree. Finally, number 1, Anthony Chiang of the Miami Herald writes about Bam's fine of $50,000 for making inappropriate comments to the referees after the non-call in the Timberwolves game. Now, I said that I saw Julius Randle's hand on his hip as Adebayo was moving up. To me, that's a foul. But it was interesting that if you look at Bam's body of work, Chiang points out that he's only been called for 1 technical foul this season. So Bam knows how to deal with the referees. And then he was like, look, man, the referees were not giving him eye contact and explaining anything to him. And he was saying that he's heard other players say a lot of crazy stuff and they didn't get tossed out in games or fined that much. So if you look at Bam's body of work, he's been kind of one of the good ones. And for him to say that probably says a lot. And he's telling a lot of truth there. All right, guys, so that is the end of Week 20 of the 2024-2025 NBA season. Join me next week when we run it back, and we'll see if the Heat can get a better record in these next games this week. Have a good week.